So when you're having Trump on. But from your perspective, what's going on in America today, I would say if you don't do the podcast with him, you're helping the establishment and you're helping a guy named Joseph Biden.
All right, we're going on Twitter for this one. This is Patrick Bet David and Joe Rogan. And you got to listen to this because he made a statement here that's, you need to watch this video to the end, because recently I was doing something on my channel. I was like, for as big as Joe Rogan is, how come he doesn't have Donald Trump on his channel? Like, what's up with that? Like, you're the biggest podcaster in the world right now, and you don't have Mr. Trump on your channel. You have everybody else. Left, right. Well, a lot of left, few rights. And in between. Scientists, doctors, and so on. You have all these different people there to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. And it's great. Joe Rogan is a great listener. Very curious. And I actually like the guy. Right? But for some reason, you don't have Trump on your channel. Like, what's up with that? Like, this is the man with all the stuff that's going on with him. If anybody needs to be on your channel, on your podcast, answering some serious question, and Trump did ask for an invitation, never received one. Why? I've said this before. Like, what's up with that? Like, why isn't this happening? There must be something behind the scene that we need to understand. Well, Patrick Bet David, I mean, great businessman, very wise. I mean, is it called PBD podcast? He is on point though. Like, yeah, PBD podcast. This guy is very balanced. Well, he put Joe on a spot in this one and had Joe doing some thinking. And I think that is actually how it's supposed to be done. So let's get to this video. Like and subscribe to the page. Click the bell icon for more. Without further ado, let us get into the heart of the message here.
So when you're having Trump on?
I don't know.
Okay. The look,
I don't know. Maybe.
Looks like you got something.
Maybe.
Okay, good. That's good. I think that's...
look, at a certain point in time, it's just like, it would be interesting to hear his perspective on a lot of things. I would like to know, what is it like when you actually get into office? I would like to know things like, what is it like versus perception?
Yeah.
What is it actually like when you get in that building? Like, what are you greeted with? When do you know that people are fucking with you? When do you know that the intelligence agency is lying to you? Like, when you decided to fire Comey, what was the thought? How much did you know? Like, what's the machine like? What is the deep state really like? Really like? Because we have all these, smoky room perceptions, like from the Bill Hicks joke, where they show you the Kennedy assassination from an angle you've never seen before. What is the machine that runs this country? Because it's very clear that it's not as simple as elected representatives that are doing the will of the people. It's not.
That's why you need to have him on your show. With all this, I love the curiosity of this man. And I think that's one thing that stands out so much. He's not coming out like a person who knows it all, but he's more like coming out like, literally, I'm trying to learn. I want to hear from your perspective, and he's allowing people to share their thoughts. He does correct people here and there and call them out, but for the most part, he's a great listener. So you have all these questions, right, about what's happening with Mr. Trump and everything. And Trump is alive and well. And Trump wants to get with you, but you still haven't invited him. Like, what's the reason? What are you afraid of? Are you really in charge of this podcast or not? These are the questions I'm asking. Like, are you afraid of the backlash from the left? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing you and Trump together.
You keep pushing that.
I think, okay, I'll tell you from my perspective, like, on why you ought to consider it when you do it. I'll just give you my...
Okay.
Just so you know, he and I don't speak. It's not something that is like, hey, his camp saying go in there and do this and do that. No, I've never interviewed the guy, so it's not like I'm, lobbying for it. But I think if, when you think about sports or you think about fights, what is the boxing world if Frazier Ali never happens, right? What is the UFC world if DC John Jones doesn't happen or Khabib Conor doesn't happen?
He's
And they're
good.
both at their peak and those fights don't happen. We can
You see what he's doing, and it's knowing that Joe Biden, not Joe Biden, forgive me, but Joe Rogan is into the UFC world, boxing, MMA fights and so on. He's using that, and this is a good businessman. He's doing a little bit of psychology here as well. So he's using something that Joe is very familiar with to connect that to Trump. And he's going to be able to relate the message in a very powerful way. So I'm pretty sure just 1 minute and 53 seconds in, it won't be long before Donald Trump is on the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm sure there's an invitation coming right up, and I'll be waiting for that.
go on with sports, with baseball, with, interviews of Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jackson. You go look at, some of these things that happen with Larry King or her and, a bunch of different guys. He's a guy that's probably the most misunderstood by a side, and a guy that.
How do you think he's misunderstood? In what way?
I think the media has really painted this guy to be evil. I like to talk to people I fully disagree with. And I think they're delusional in certain areas to understand, like, what makes you believe what you just said.
Right.
Like, I don't understand what you just said.
Right.
Tell me how you could be that convinced you're right.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Cenk was on the podcast yesterday. And Cenk is convinced he's a better businessman than Trump. I mean, how could you say something? But he's convinced. And he says, no, he's a loser. Trump's a loser. I said, dude, what do you mean there's
a lot of things wrong with his way of thinking. I think he's been so radicalized over time. Have you ever seen Cenk's older videos, like the way he used to talk to people, like before the BLM and all the everything is racist in America kind of thing? I really think over time something happened to him. He literally lost it.
only two things he's won in his life. I said, there's only two things he's won in his life? Yes. Yeah, there's only two things he's ever won in his life. And this is the second time Cenk and I having a conversation together. Politically, we're on very different sides. I'm just trying to find out, why do you think this way, right? And he says, yeah, only two things. He's a great marketer, and he did this. I said, first of all, 15 years, apprentice. Good luck. Go do. No, he had great producers. I don't care if you have the greatest producers in the world.
No.
You can hire any producers Joe has and go try to match Joe's numbers with podcasts. Yeah, because it's his producers. No, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
15 years. Book, how many years does Art of the Deal does? Well, yeah, but Pat, imagine if you started with $430 million. You would have been richer than him today. I said, $430 million. What's this $430 million? He got $430 million. Are you like counting in today's money versus, well, it's estimated this. Okay, he got $1 million, he got $14 million, no problem. He got family money. I'm willing to make the case that you are more likely to screw up your life if your family gives you money.
True.
He says, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I said, so I went and studied. I got 4 kids now. We're going, we've done estate planning multiple times, but now I just sold the insurance company. So I have to sit there and see, what am I going to be doing with some of this money that came out of nowhere? Goldman, Morgan, estate planning. Do we do this? Do we do that? Let's go study it. We put our research team, go find out who did it right out of all the families. Okay. The Medici family, 7 generations, they kept the wealth within the family. What are they doing? And boom, 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 boom. Great. Vanderbilt family, the money lasted 1 generation, maybe 2. Like when, Anderson Cooper's mom's like, look, we're Vanderbilts.
I know he's going to make it all connect. It's like, if you know a preacher's way of thinking, I do this all the time. Like I will come in a sermon, right? And I will say, for example, I preached this morning and I was talking about how Enoch walked with God, right? And I would say, Enoch walked with God. And then I went around. And I'm connecting all the dots. And I end up coming back to the main title of the message and the main verse and explain how that happened. So he's good, man. And I can see why he's such a good businessman, because it takes some thinking and hard work to be able to convince some people to buy into what you're selling them. And he is actually selling Joe Rogan Donald Trump right now. And I'm telling you, the way he's putting this thing together, I will give another 2 months or so, you're going to see Donald Trump on the Joe Rogan podcast. You can expect it to happen now.
but you ain't getting nothing. You got to make your own money, right? Okay. You know, the Rockefeller family, they're at 3 or 4. Okay. We can go through all these families. Most of them that get a lot of money, the kid becomes a what? Drug addict, drug dealer, spoiled. They don't work. They're not this. They're not that.
Right.
Okay. So let's just say he did get the money and he still doesn't do drugs and he doesn't do alcohol and his vice is women and he works his ass off in business and he makes it where he makes it to.
That's right.
Yeah, it's very easy to make the argument that actually if you do come with money, it's a harder life than a person that doesn't get money, to have that drive and ambition. Not necessarily it's a harder life, to have that fire, the ambition that, you know, you can't teach that. You either got it or you don't have it, right? Okay. So then we go into politics. So let me get this straight. This guy wins in New York. He becomes a billionaire. He wins on TV. He's won with women. He's partied with everybody. In 1988, he's doing an interview with Oprah Winfrey, and Oprah Winfrey says, hey, you sound like you're going to run for office. No, I have no interest, but if I ever did, I'd win. Okay. Then he runs. Everybody thinks it's just a marketing deal that he's doing. And then when he wins, I don't know if you remember when he walked on, he's like, even him himself, they were kind of like surprised. Babe, we just won.
I know. I remember, man, when that happened, 2016, I was like, wait, Donald Trump just won the presidency, and I wasn't even paying attention to politics. From my perspective, I'm like, there's no way Mr. Trump is gonna win. I mean, you serious? Like, he's not. Like, he's got to be crazy. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I'm like, we're probably Hillary's gonna win or something like that. Although I never voted for her and I didn't think she was a great politician at all. But the point is, I never thought that Trump will win as a president. I didn't realize how much the world has changed, though. I didn't realize how much people had gotten so tired of career politicians that they said it was time for something different. So we're going to put a businessman. And I'm so glad that they did, because I'm like, he really opened my eyes to see things differently. So, yeah, it was crazy to me. I'm like, I can't believe Trump just won. Like, it was a shocker. For most of us in our family, we're like, what? Like, what is going on? The world is going crazy.
And the day before, the odds were if you bet $100, you know, you'd have to bet $350 to win $100 on Hillary. But if you bet $100, I think you win $550 with Trump or some number like that.
Wow.
The underdog won, the greatest underdog of all time of politics, right? Okay.
Amazing.
So let's fast forward 20 years from now. Let's go to 2043. We're doing a podcast. You're 75. Okay. I don't know if you're doing podcasts, but that'd be one hell of a podcast at 75. And maybe we feel a little bit more comfortable coming out at that time because we're traditionalists, we're older generation, and maybe we're a little bit more careful about what people think about us right now.
Yeah.
But at 75, we look back and we look at the list of podcasters. Who are the greatest podcasters of all time? Joe Rogan at the top, GOAT. Who's the greatest this, that? And he's like, dude, but he never interviewed that guy Trump. I'm going to be like, what are you talking about?
That's an ostrich. That's a big gap right there. It's just, this is not, that will not be a good look for his reputation at all.
Wait, let me get this straight. The greatest podcaster of all time never interviewed Trump at a time that he didn't do that?
That's crazy.
Dude, that's crazy. I don't believe it. Why not? It had to be personal. It had to be this. So to me, I think the guy that's going to interview him in a way that nobody else is going to interview him, you're going to ask some questions that you want to know about. Like, you know, hey, what happened with JFK? Are we really going to find out? Can you commit to us? Are you going to come out with the files or no? So I really want to know. Last time you said you did, but you only gave us 80%. Are we going to get the other 20%? Aliens. What the hell is going on with these aliens?
Yeah.
Are we going to know or no? Can you give us a glimpse? Do you think we should know?
Yeah. I don't think he'd tell you anything about that.
But what I'm saying...
I think that would be a waste of time.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
Maybe I'm wrong.
Whatever angles you choose to take.
Yeah.
Okay. It's your show. You get to take whatever angles you want to take. I think it'd be very weird to look back. There's going to be no mainstream media 20 years from now. You know that.
I believe that. I believe that. The way the mainstream media is, and people will be losing confidence in them. Yeah, it won't be long. The mainstream media network, the way they operating. Listen, friends. You see these YouTubers, like people like Joe Rogan and PPD Podcasts and Officer Tatum and all these guys, Black Conservative Perspective, and there are many more that I listen to. They are replacing the mainstream media. And the mainstream media actually, some of them know that. They actually know they're losing viewership, they're losing support because of these smaller channels that are popping all over the place. Even my channel, in a sense, is pulling a small group of people to listen to a perspective that is different from the mainstream media. And I really don't. It won't be long. They're eventually not going to exist because they're pushing a narrative, right? Whether it is Republican or Democrats, they're pushing a specific narrative, and oftentimes there are some stuff that they will not address. You know what I'm saying? There's some truth that they will not touch, and they don't have the perspective. And most of their script is written for them. Very few of them can write their own script, like Tucker Carlson and so on. Like very few of them can write their own script. For many of them, they just parroting a perspective that they were told to say. So I can see a couple years from now, it won't be long before all the mainstream media propagandists and figureheads, they're just gonna pass off the scenes and nobody's gonna pay attention to them. Okay, YouTubers and podcasts is becoming the thing, and that's where it's gonna grow. And I think even with us, we have to be careful though. Like we get wrapped up in the money and everything, and they start censoring our speech and everything else. We got to be careful with that, but it's just, the world is changing, and I think the change is a good thing.
And say Joe never interviewed Trump. That's kind of weird. So, very weird to look back. There's going to be no mainstream media 20 years from now. You know that, I know that. To look back and say Joe never interviewed Trump, that's kind of weird. So that's my pitch to you.
Good. I like weird.
You like weird?
I like things that are weird.
I don't know about that. I think you know, I think one.
Why don't you interview him?
Why don't I interview him? I think if I give you my assessment on why.
Have you ever tried?
I'll give you my assessment on why I think.
Okay.
I think if he's him, okay, you're here, Joe. Everybody else is below you. In this space, not mainstream. In mainstream, he'll do Tucker. He'll do, you know,
Hannity.
Megyn Kelly, whatever. I don't know if he's done Megyn Kelly. He hasn't done it, but he'll do Tucker. He'll do Brett Baer. He'll do Hannity. He'll do all that stuff. But in this lane we're in, you have to do you first.
I don't know. That's correct though, because if you haven't tried, you shouldn't say that. Because I don't think Trump is. I don't see him in that way though. I don't see him as the guy who's like, man, you got too small of a podcast. I can't come to your channel. I don't think that's what it is. I think Trump is open to have this discussion. I mean, the man will go. For example, the rapper High Res. I mean, went to his wedding. Like I'm like, what? You got the former president to come to your wedding? That's crazy. Yeah, Trump is like show up at a UFC fight. You know what I'm saying? Like. That's crazy to me that, I don't know, Joe Biden doesn't do that. Well, he went to a black church at one time and things like that. So for whatever the reason may be. So, yeah, I think Trump will be open to go on a PBD podcast. I don't think Joe Rogan has to be the first one to set the premise here. I think he should try, but I can understand the nature of his argument though. He's trying to get Joe Rogan to be the one to start the fire. Still interesting though. Still selling. He's a good salesman. This is a good salesman. This is the kind of guy you want to hang with if you trying to get in business. You need to hang out with Patrick Bet David. This guy is good. I did sales and I did a level of that, and I even had a license and everything, and insurance and everything. They call it life insurance. It should be really death insurance, but we get the point. That doesn't sound very attractive. But the thing is, having done that, I've learned a number of those things he's doing. I've learned a number of those ways to articulate your perspective to get people to buy into what you're selling. And it takes hard work. It takes dedication, and you got to know what you're doing to succeed in business. So salesmen, I have a lot of respect for them.
Then comes everybody else. He can't do that. So I think we come after you come. If I'm his advisor, I would advise him. You can't go to anybody else unless you go to Joe first. and I'm telling you,
He's good,
from a
though.
perspective of if I'm his counsel, I would say you go to Joe,
Yeah.
then you go XYZ. Everybody else is XYZ Joe. You're Joe. Everyone else is XYZ. Okay. And I think he knows that, and I think the person in control right now is not him. It's you. Like the person in control with Hunter is Hunter's camp, not you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, Hunter, no, Joe, whoever gets to say no, they're in control.
Right.
So, but from your perspective, what's going on in America today, I would say if you don't do the podcast with him, you're helping the establishment and you're helping a guy named Joseph Biden.
Wow. That was a crazy statement.
If you don't do the podcast with him, you're helping the establishment and you're helping a guy named Joseph Biden. I think you're helping that person. That's kind of weird. But indirectly in your...
You know what he just did here? Psychologically speaking, he just put Joe Rogan in a position to make a decision. That's like an appeal. He might sound like a threat in a sense, but it's really not. Knowing the type of person that Joe Rogan is and his curiosity and everything, he's done sold Donald Trump to Joe. And he's done it such a good way. Apart from, Joe, you gotta be the first one to do the podcast. Apart from that, I think everything else he said was perfectly fine. But he put Joe in a position here where after this discussion, Joe has to go home and look at himself in the mirror and says, yeah, why haven't I invited Trump to my podcast? Like, what's up with that? He's going to do some self-examination and he's going to make a decision, because that final statement was the nail in the coffin for me. That final statement is everything.
But from your perspective, what's going on in America today, I would say if you don't do the podcast with him, you're helping the establishment and you're helping a guy named Joseph Biden.
Wow.
I think you're helping that person. That's kind of weird. But indirectly in your mind, you're helping Joseph Biden win by not interviewing Trump.
Did you come on this podcast specifically to try to get me to interview Trump?
No, you brought up Trump multiple times. I never brought it up.
It seems like you did. I think you did.
Patrick, you're good, bro. The psychology is amazing here. I mean, well done. Wow. No, I don't think he went there for that purpose, but I think he had something in mind. I'm sure he did. He had something in mind when he went to the podcast. And again, that was well done. I think Joe's going to have to do some thinking in considering the nature of the message he just heard today. And he has to decide whether or not he is going to continue to put off Trump, or is he going to make some changes and have Trump on his podcast? So I think it's time for a change. And I think it would be a good look. What do you guys think? Don't you think it would be a good look to see Donald Trump given the platform to speak without being distracted? Oftentimes he's being questioned, he's being interviewed, he's made to feel like a bully, like a bad man. Like very, very few interviews that he had, he was given the opportunity to really express the way he feels. And I think Joe Rogan is the man for that. Like I can't think of anybody else. He's the man for that, and that's a good look. And here's another thing I wanted to share is that the perspective we got to have with those we disagree with or we may not like, it has to change. Because we might think there's a lot of people that are against us, but in many cases, they actually are for us. And I've come to realize Donald Trump is actually not against us. He's actually for us. Even though Joe may not like Trump in certain things that Trump has done or said from his perspective, but the very things that you have a problem with, Donald Trump is fighting against the deep state. He's fighting against the system, right? The machine. He's fighting against, and you have an issue with these things, right? Well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So this is the guy you want to have on your side, irrespective of the fact we can talk about the things that we don't agree with, but the things that we do agree with are the reasons why we should come together. In Luke chapter 9, verse 49, look at this parallel. Anyone not against us is for us. It says, Master, the disciples came to Jesus. We saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we tried to stop him because he does not follow us. So this man is not on our team, man. He's not a Republican or a Democrat. He's not in a Christian church, right? He's not among the disciples. He's not walking with us. So therefore, let's get rid of him. Let's ignore him. Let's tell him to stop, quit. Jesus said unto them, do not stop him. Make room for the man. But he's not among us, though. Don't stop him. Why did he say that? For the one who is not against you is for you. I'm not against you guys. I'm for you. Jesus is not against us. He's for us. Did you hear me, atheists? He's for you. He's not against you. A political application. You know, Donald Trump is not against us, though. He's for us. He's for us. Those that are against us, Trump is standing in their way, and that's their problems. Open the door. Allow him to speak and share his mind. We have in our midst, I will say, you see, people have an issue with Trump today because he's alive. When Trump passes off the scene and we finally get out of that Trump derangement syndrome, we all heal from it. It's a mental psyche, it really is. Once we get out of that mentality, we start to look back. There's a lot of people who hate Donald Trump today. They're going to regret it. And I mean, no way saying he's sinless. He is flawless. I'm not talking about that. You may not like Trump today. Later on, you're going to look back and say, you know what? We made a mistake. And I just don't want to be the guy who looks back and say, man, I wish I didn't think a treat and open the door, promote him on my channel and speak in a positive way, because it took me a little while to realize it. Trump is actually for us. And I know I'm preaching a Trump message here. It's fine. We're being political, okay? We can talk about Jesus too, don't get me wrong. But at this moment, in the light of the situation in which we're in, anyone who's not against us is for us. Did you hear what I said? I mean, did you hear what Jesus said? Thank you so much for listening, though. Like and subscribe to the page. Click the bell icon for more. It's been a great day. Great discussion. Great interview. Well done. Put your link below. What do you think about this? Do you agree that Donald Trump should be on a Joe Rogan podcast? Would you like to see this? And if that is true, maybe we should tell Joe, I want to see some Trump going on. Maybe we should get on Joe and say, Joe, come on, man, make it happen. Make it happen. The voices of the people matter. All right. So I think Patrick Bet David done did his job and well done. All right, friends, link in the description below. Like and subscribe to the page if you're happy to be new. Click the bell icon for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.